Today we're going to be giving this chest of drawers that I actually found in the trash on garbage day in front of my neighbor's house a fabulous makeover. First thing I do is remove all the hardware. I am going to keep this hardware, so I'll put it aside for later. Then I vacuum the insides of the drawers and the inside of the drawer cubbies to get rid of any of the dust bunnies. Then I'm going to use Dixie Belle's white lightning cleaner and thoroughly clean this entire piece of furniture. So that includes the inside of the cubbies, the inside of the drawers, the bottom of the drawers, everywhere. Just give it a really nice cleaning. Once I finish cleaning it, then I wipe it down with a wet rag with some warm water just to make sure there's no cleaner residue left on this piece. This top is in terrible condition, so I'm going to use Dixie Belle's mud in brown to fill in the holes, and then once the holes are filled in, I actually go ahead and I fill in the scratches too. So I'm using quite a bit of the mud. Once I do that and it dries, I can come back with a sanding sponge and I can sand it all flush. And I use my vacuum in one hand and a sanding sponge in the other, so I don't have to take this outside to clean. I can just do it indoors and vacuum it up as I go. Now, when everything is flush, I use the bonding boss in white, and I am doing 2 coats of this. You wait 4 hours in between the coats and 24 hours before you apply your paint. Now, in between the first coat and the second coat on the top, after I apply the white bonding primer, I can see if there's any dents or scratches that I missed. So then I can refill those in afterwards because you can see it a little bit better once you paint it white. So wherever there was a little dent or scratch, I just filled it in again. I wait for it to dry and I sand it one more time. Now I'm being really careful not to over sand it, but I don't want there to be any of the mud. I want this top to be really, really smooth. So I take extra care once I'm applying the mud to make sure that everything feels smooth to the touch. Now for the paint, I already put my first coat on the front. I just wanted to test a few things out. So what I'm going to do for this second coat is I'm adding the color Stormy Seas. Stormy Seas will be on the outer edges, the corners, and the sides. And then that inside color is Vintage Duck Egg, which they're both kind of like a greenish blue. One is darker, one's lighter, and they blend together so easily. It's just a gorgeous color combination. So I have my water mister in one hand, and then I have a brush for each of the colors. I'm applying the colors first, and if I feel like that Stormy Seas is getting dry, I just give a little spritz with my water mister to make sure it doesn't dry so that the colors are still wet so that they'll blend pretty easy. Now to blend, once the colors meet, I just mix them together. I go back and forth and mix the color together until I think it looks really, really good. I may add a little bit more of one color or do some touch-ups. Like right there, I just grabbed the brush for the Stormy Seas. And then once I think it looks pretty good, I grab a completely dry brush. The one I have in my hand right now is completely dry. And that's just perfecting the blend. That gets rid of any extra brush strokes there. That dry brush it really does blend the colors together even better than the wet brushes. So my wet brush is for mixing the colors, and then my dry brush is for perfecting that blend. Now for the bottom here, I'm continuing to add that Stormy Seas on those edges and the sides, on the outer parts, and then I am gonna use muscadine wine, which is like a reddish, burgundy, wine-ish color. And I'm gonna mix that actually I'm gonna put it right on top of my Stormy Seas, and I'm gonna make a purple color. Muscadine wine is just one of the most underrated colors, I swear, because I use it all the time. I can mix it with browns or grays or pinks or blues and just make the most gorgeous colors from it. So it is one of those colors that I use most often. Once it was done, I decided I didn't really like the angle that I had the purple on, so I came back and I just changed it up a little bit. Here's the easiest way I find to clean up the hardware. It's all tarnished and everything. I just put it in a container, use some distilled white vinegar. I cover up the hardware if I didn't have enough, so I just added a little bit of water. I leave it sit for about 2 days, and then I come back and I wash it with a little wire brush, and it comes very clean. So when I have the drawers closed, you can see that I haven't painted the trim yet, and that's because there's hardly any space in between those drawers. If I add 1 or 2 coats of paint, I'm not going to be able to open and close them, and they're going to get stuck. I saw Twitch from Creep Designs with Twitch do a paint wash on one of hers, and I thought it was such a brilliant idea because you're watering down the paint so it's not really thick, and you're just kind of shading it rather than painting it. So when the drawers are closed, you won't be able to see the wood color. Now for the fun stuff, I'm using this soft wintry floral transfer by Dixie Belle. It's their bells and whistles line, and it's so gorgeous. So I want to go through how I choose the colors to go with the transfer. I feel like the obvious color here would have been to go with a gray background or maybe like a gray and white or something, but I found that there was a little bit of purple and a little bit of blue in these little sections that you could see, and that would match. So that's why I created the purple on the bottom of the piece, and then I used that Stormy Season Vintage Duck Egg because I did see just little hints of that in the transfer. So I figured, okay, we know that it matches because it's already in the transfer. So next, I cut out all the pieces and I place it on the dresser or the chest exactly how I want it to look. This is just to give me an idea. So then I cut them out even more and I take the front paper off of the backing paper and I stick it on the furniture like it's a sticker. Then I grab the stick that Dixie Belle provides in the bag and I rub that transfer onto the furniture. So it's gonna come off of that front paper. Once I feel like I've rubbed it on pretty good, I start to peel that front paper back. Then I continue adding the transfer down the piece. I just line the flower up. As you can see, there's little parts of the transfer, like a little flower or something where I cut that doesn't really make sense. So all I'm gonna do is take the base color on my chest of drawers, which is the vintage duck egg, and I'm gonna paint right over the transfer. If there's any part of the transfer that you don't like or you don't think looks right, don't be afraid to paint right over it. You're not going to be able to tell. It's just going to blend in naturally. It's going to look like camouflage. I did that on a few parts of this transfer. Once I finish painting and the paint is all dry, then I need to burnish the transfer. I just take a burnishing pad, and if you can see, there's a little bit of a white halo that goes around the edge of the transfer. I take my burnishing pad and I just gently sand on top of it. Now for the handles, all that tarnish is gone. It was 2 days that it sat in the vinegar. Now I'm gonna use Stick With Me glue, and I'm gonna apply it pretty liberally on the whole entire thing. I'm gonna cover it because I want to use the Dixie Shine in silver. I don't want these to be gold. It just doesn't match. It doesn't look good. So I'm gonna make them silver because I feel like the silver will go with the cool colors of the transfer and the cool colors of the chest. I need to wait about 20 minutes for that glue to dry. Once the glue dries, then I come back. It's a little tacky, and the foil needs to be shiny side up. And then I'm just using a wire brush. You can use a toothbrush to rub the foil on. And that's it. Now my gold handles or my brass handles are silver. And don't be afraid if you missed any parts to put a second coat on there. You can just apply your Stick With Me glue one more time and then wait for it to dry about 12 to 20 minutes, and then go ahead and do the Dixie Shine again if you need a little bit more of the color of the foil. So then I want to seal my transfer in. You always have to seal your transfer. And for this, I'm gonna use Dixie Belle's clear coat in satin. And I like to use my sprayer because then I don't get any streaks. Once I've applied 2 coats of my clear coat, then I'm gonna do my last step, which is I'm gonna apply that silver Dixie Shine foil to this little raised detail on the front. So first I need to do my Stick With Me glue, let it sit for the 20 minutes till it tacks up, and then I'm ready to apply my shine. You remember what this looked like when we first started? And here it is today. I absolutely love this furniture transfer. The florals are so beautiful on it. All the little details are so nice. And I love the cool colors with the pinks. I love the silver. It matches so well. I'd love to hear what you think. Don't forget to leave me a comment. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.